I am Tristan Miller with the Living Learning Communities office, and I am here to interview Christina. So, first off, who are you? What's your job?
So, my name's Christina Bowles, and I'm an academic advisor in the Academic Advising and Transfer Center. And I work primarily with undeclared students who are students exploring different options for majors.
Awesome. Cool, cool. So, if someone wanted to get to know you, what's something that they would just have to know?
So, the first thing is if you really want to connect with me, I love movies. And so that's a great kind of topic of conversation if you're not sure what else to talk about. Another thing that you need to know about me is I ask a lot of questions. So, I really love getting to know people. And if I'm wanting to get to know you, I'm going to ask a lot of questions about yourself. So, as long as you're comfortable with that and open to talking about yourself, we'll get along just great.
Solid. Cool. I have my list of questions here. So, what is a course that you struggled with in college?
So, the course that I probably struggled with the most was macroeconomics, economics 155. And the reason why it wasn't a super hard class, but when I took it as a sophomore, it didn't feel relevant to me at all. I wasn't in a position where I cared about the economy because I was in college. I thought I was going to be a business major, and I decided that that wasn't really the right fit for me. So I think a combination of things really made that class a struggle. And it wasn't because it was a hard class. I think if I took it now, I would really enjoy it. I find economics to be really fascinating now, but yeah, as a student, it was just not something that I was really interested in. So that did make it a struggle.
Solid. Okay. So, if you had to, I don't know, go back and tell yourself, something to kind of get yourself through it, because I'm sure there's a bunch of people that are like, oh, this class isn't for me, or like, oh, this is important to me right now. Like, what would you tell someone like that?
I would say one thing I wish I would have done differently with economics is I wish I would have met with my instructor, because looking back, he was actually a great teacher and was very approachable. I think that I could have met with him and maybe found a way to like make the class more relevant to me. I would also say try to find some information that would help you understand the class better and kind of make it something that you can understand better. So if I tied economics to like my local, like my hometown, or something that I think would have really, excuse me, resonated with me, that's probably the advice I would have given myself in that class.
Nice. So if you could tell your past self anything, not just about that class, but anything, what would it be?
I would tell myself, this is going to sound super cliche, but I thought about this long and hard. I would tell myself to not be afraid to follow my passions. When I started college, I feel like I wanted to pursue a business major because I thought that was practical. And I was so concerned about finding a job that I didn't really think about what I actually enjoy. I think that I'm happy with where my life ended up. I'm very happy in my job. So all things, worked out like they almost always do. But I think that if I had told myself at 18 to follow my passions, I probably would have majored in something completely different than what I majored in. I ended up majoring in communication, and that was kind of a late choice. And I'm glad I did. I enjoyed my major. But I think if I'd really thought about what I was passionate about, I maybe would have pursued something in the arts or fashion or religious studies, which is what I ended up choosing for my minor. But I think I would have spent some more time really thinking about what I was passionate about and not just picking something because it's practical or easy.
That is great advice. Nothing like, I don't know, I'd go back in time and bet on this, like sports
No,
game.
well, I know, like Back to the Future. So I thought
Yeah.
about that too, but I really feel like, so not to be too deep or philosophical, but I really like who I am as a person. And I feel like part of that is my past decisions and things that I've, the way that I was brought up, and even growing up kind of poor, because I was poor growing up, but all of those things make me who I am today. So it's like, I could change my future by telling myself something. And so I really thought about what would I really want to change. And I think honestly, not being afraid to pursue my passions would be something relatively safe I could tell myself that wouldn't change who I am fundamentally as a person.
Cool. Awesome. So, do you have any advice to students who are starting to register for spring classes? You don't have any advice for that, do you?
No, not at all. So, first thing, meet with your academic advisor. So you'll have to meet with your advisor in order to register. Students have to do that if they don't have 75 credit hours. And so go ahead and get that taken care of if you haven't met with your advisor yet. And then my next piece of advice is to, when you're creating schedules, trial schedules for the spring, create multiple schedules. That way, if classes start to fill up, you have some backup options. That's going to make registration a lot more smoothly for you. Just take a deep breath. If something doesn't work out, try to troubleshoot it and come up with something different. So that's probably my biggest advice, is meet with your advisor and create multiple schedules so you have lots of backup options.
Let's say, it's like early in the morning and that class you wanted fills up. Should you panic?
No, don't panic. So what I would probably say, if a class does fill up, try to find a backup option. If there aren't any other options, contact your advisor. Sometimes departments can open up seats. Some departments have wait lists. There are definitely ways to get into a class that you really want. You just might have to be a little bit patient. Also, students are adding and dropping classes all the time throughout the registration period. So even though that class that you really want is full on the day that you register, it could very well open up a week later. So I would say be patient and don't panic.
Awesome. Cool. So that's looking into the future for their classes, but let's talk about kind of what they're doing right now. So let's say they had a bad first half of the semester. What advice would you give them now moving into the second half, or like the tail end rather, to I don't know, maybe kind of fix some stuff?
Yeah, well, I would say, again, don't panic. I think that's probably just a good phrase for any advisor to tell their students. It's never too late to turn things around. So the first thing that students want to do is talk to your instructor. If you're not doing well at midterm, or if you're not doing as well as you would like in the class, talk to your teacher for a couple of reasons. One, the situation may not be as bad as you think. And so they might be able to tell you, no, you're actually doing okay. You just have to turn these things in. Also, your instructors want to help you. So meeting with them will kind of start that process of figuring out what you can do to be successful in that particular class. Also meet with your advisor. We want to help you also. I can recommend resources to my students who are struggling, or kind of help them map out some ideas for maybe better time management or better study skills and those kinds of things. And then finally, start visiting with someone in the Bear Claw. So the Bear Claw is our Center for Learning and Writing. They're doing virtual tutoring for spring. You can go to their website to find information on how to meet with a tutor, but they also provide tutoring for multiple subjects. So for example, my economics class that I really struggled in, they have tutors for economics. The Bear Claw was not a thing when I was a student, so I probably would have had to take advantage of some other resources. But I think students are often surprised by the number of classes that the Bear Claw offers tutoring for.
Awesome. Cool. So speaking of studying, where's your favorite place to study on campus?
So when I was a student at Missouri State, longer ago than I want to admit right now on video, I used to study outside the student union because I really, especially when the weather was nice. Well, being an extrovert, that was a problem because every time a friend of mine would walk by, I would stop to chat and I wouldn't actually be studying. So I found that I needed to study in the library, and particularly like in the upper floors of the library where it was a little bit less busy. Even as a staff member, sometimes I will take my tablet to the library and work there because it's a change of scenery. They have snacks and food. And so if you get hungry, everything you need is right there. And really for me, the biggest thing is having a quiet place with no distractions. And again, I know it might seem cliche, but really the library is the best place to study on campus.
It's true. I like to trap myself somewhere while I'm studying, so I don't have the option of doing anything else. It's like, nobody, you're here until you're done studying. So the library is great. So
Well,
yeah,
they
cool.
used to have these desks with what I call like blinders, like horse blinders. And that's
Yeah.
where I would have to study, especially in graduate school, because I would get so distracted by everyone and everything. And so I had to sit at these desks where it's like, okay, it's just me and these two walls, and I'm just gonna work on this paper right now. So
Awesome. So when you're done studying, right, where's your favorite place in Springfield?
that's a great question. So it depends on what I'm wanting to do. So generally speaking, I love downtown. I volunteer at the History Museum. And so I spend a lot of time downtown, either at the History Museum or doing walking tours. And that's something that I really enjoy. And I really love art. Our art museum is really wonderful and it's free. And so I always encourage students to check out the Springfield Art Museum. It's something that I actually didn't check out until I graduated and decided to stay in Springfield. So I encourage students to go there. But I think if I had to pick one place that's my favorite place in Springfield, I really love movies. And the Moxie is our local independent theater. The owners are really wonderful people who have given a lot to the Springfield community. And so that is probably my favorite place in Springfield. If you made me pick one place, that's my favorite.
Cool, cool. I was expecting like, Target.
Well, I do like to shop, but yeah, I would say the Moxie.
Awesome. What's a resource on campus that you think too few people know about?
So this one, that's a great question. So one of the resources that I thought about, and the reason why students don't really know about it is because it only serves a certain population of students, but there are lots of students that qualify that may not know, and that's TRIO Student Support Services. So TRIO is a grant-funded program, and it serves students who meet certain criteria like first gen, low income, disability, that sort of thing. But a lot of students qualify and they don't even know that they qualify. So if you think that you might qualify for their services, I would definitely get in contact with them because they provide tutoring, scholarships, workshops, one-on-one help with folks in the office that serve as kind of like an advisor. And so the reason why I think students don't really know about it is, again, because it only serves a certain population, but there are lots of students who qualify that don't even know that they're eligible for their services.
Awesome. Cool. And the big question is, what do you even do during office hours? What's that like? Why would a student come see you during office hours?
So because I primarily meet with students, so faculty will have office hours, which I really think should be called student hours because that time is really for them to meet with students and kind of work on their classes. For me, students can meet with me pretty much any time that I'm available. So what would happen when a student meets with me, like I teach GEP 101, so I do often have students meet with me from that class, but my advisees can meet with me as well. And during that time, like we're just talking about, how are your classes going? What do you want to take next semester? Because I work with students who are undeclared, I will oftentimes ask them questions about what they want to do, try to figure out what their passions are, and so that they don't make the same mistake I did in not following their passions. And so I do try to get to the heart of what students really want to do. And so we spend some time exploring different majors and careers. I really love getting to know my students. And so oftentimes our conversations will venture into what do you like to do for fun and where do you work and things like that. So I really, again, really love getting to know my students. So a lot of my time is spent doing that and then also talking about classes and majors.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I think I've taken up enough of your time, and you've given us a lot of great information. So hopefully, someone watching watching a video over breakfast will get some fun info.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks for having me. This was really fun. And I always appreciate helping my students in any way that I can.
Oh yeah, I think they're gonna like it. So.